Longhorn Startup is designed to give student entrepreneurs the opportunity to work on their startup while they're in school and get real course credit for graduation. I'm a biology major.
I'm an MBA student and also earning my master's in advertising.
I'm studying electrical engineering.
I'm a junior film major and computer science minor.
We brought in some incredible speakers to meet with our students, like Michael Dell and Brett Hurt and Mark Cuban.
We have a lot of great presenters come.
The speakers are really fantastic.
When you've got a startup that's real, it's time to get involved in the lab. And the lab takes the seminar to a whole new level by giving you a bunch more credit, connecting you with local mentors, and giving you lots of time to work on your startup with your peers. I wanted to get some real-world business experience before I graduated.
When I signed up for the class, I had to start defending my idea and my business model right then.
In addition to getting time to work on their startup, they get matched up with local entrepreneur mentors that work with them to improve their pitch, to focus them in the right direction, and to help them get it pointed towards funding and acceleration.
A lot of the acceleration that we've had so far wouldn't have been possible without this class.
We've had some of the greatest mentors.
I mean, the access to folks like Josh and Bob and Ben Dyer and just the entire mentor network.
They're always so knowledgeable and so helpful and always willing to give us so much support that I think not only has been invaluable, it's just been fun.
This class has linked me with a mentor that has just become an angel to us.
And it's always been a fun experience just because they're also fun people.
And you get to talk to those people and ask them questions and kind of get a glimpse into how successful people made it to where they are.
Get this kind of insider knowledge, learning what it means to make a company, to make a startup work.
There are a lot of great resources on campus for student entrepreneurs. But it's also great for them to be able to get off campus and go to Capital Factory, where they're surrounded by other real entrepreneurs that are working on their startups and learning from each other.
I'm so pleased to have Capital Factory.
It's such a great place. That's where we meet up with some of our mentors.
It's a beautiful place to work, and it's a hub of entrepreneurship in Austin.
You know, I started my first company when I was in college, but we didn't have any of these kinds of support structures. We had an entrepreneurial center, we had business courses, but nothing like this that could give me time and credit to actually work on my startup in school and learn from all the great resources that the university has to offer.
I've wanted to be in this class since it started.
This is what I came here to do, build a startup and take it to the next level.
This class has been amazing.
I love it.
Hi everybody, I'm Josh Baer, and I'm really excited to kick off this day of UT Entrepreneurship. During my day job is I run Capital Factory downtown, but I also am here every week for the Longhorn Startup Program, which I started with Dr. Metcalf many years ago now. And so I'm going to kick this off by talking a little bit tell you a little bit about Longhorn Startup, talk a little bit about when I started my company in college and my advice to you if you were going to go start a company in college today. And then we're going to hand it off to learn more about all the different resources that are available to you here at UT. And then I think there's like a fair of all kinds of other tables and booths and people and other things. Manuel, am I missing anything? Where is Manuel? I lost him, but good. Okay, great. So that was about Longhorn Startup. That's a class that I teach with Melly Price now, who also is in charge of commercialization for the Dell Medical School. And Longhorn Startup has two parts to it. The seminar, which is running right now in the fall, which is a pass-fail course open to any students across the university. And we bring in incredible speakers to come inspire you about entrepreneurship and share their stories. And we've had lots of great people come in the past. Dr. Metcalf is always one of our speakers. We have Mike Maples, one of the top venture capitalists in the world, coming. Kendra Scott is coming. John Hankey, who's a UT alum who helped create Pokemon Go, and Google Earth is coming. So just bringing incredible people to inspire the students and talk about entrepreneurship. And that's our secret trick to bring them all in and meet them so that we can then get them to take the lab, which is in the spring. And the lab is for student teams who actually have a startup. They've got something that's real they're working on, and they want to get as much help and time and resources to work on that while they're in school. So it's a 3-hour course. It's a senior level course. We have them different course numbers across many different colleges so that you can get credit for it as many different ways as you can. And it's really designed to give you time to work on your startup while you're in school, to match you up with local mentors who can help you, to get you a $1,000 grant that you get if you get into the class just to work on your startup, to get you, you get a table at the startup crawl, you get Amazon web credits, we have a big demo day at the end where you pitch in front of usually about 1,000 people. And something new this year, last year there was a $5,000 prize at the end for the top team. And I'm really excited to announce that this year it's going to be a $25,000 prize, and that's a grant. It's free money for the top team, and we're doing that in partnership with the new Blackstone Center that Christelle Glanshaw is running. So we're really excited about that too. So if you know anybody working on a startup that's real, it's like a real thing they're actually working on, then we want to meet them, and we want them to come take the lab. Let's see if this works. Maybe it doesn't work. Or maybe it's... Nope. So if you want to learn more about that, you can come to my office hours. Melly and I do office hours every Thursday before class at 5 o'clock in the computer science building lobby. And then Sam, our TA, does office hours twice a week in the Blackstone Center, Mondays and Wednesdays from 1 to 3 p.m. So we'd love to meet you or anybody else that you know that is working on entrepreneurship. My clicker's really delayed. The other thing is at the beginning of every class this semester, which is Thursday nights at 6 o'clock in the big place like this in the computer science building, GDC 2.216, we have open pitch pizza. That's also open to anybody in the university, and anybody can come and get 2 minutes to pitch their idea. I'm always there, Dr. Metcalf is often there, Melly's there, and then whoever our guest speaker is there, which could be Kendra Scott or Mike Maples or John Henke or any of those incredible people, as well as a class of 200 people that all get to see what you're working on and give you feedback. And so you get 2 minutes to pitch your idea, we give you some feedback, and it's, like I said, great way to get exposure, get in front of people, ask for help, look for co-founders, things like that. And so we'd love to have any of you come in and pitch us 1 week, and you can tell other people that they can come in and do that too. Last things before I get into my story, we are also looking for a social media volunteer for the spring, as well as a TA for the spring and the fall. And so if you know anybody that would be interested in that, this is an awesome opportunity to get to plug into the UT entrepreneurship community and to meet lots of incredible people and to really learn a lot about entrepreneurship. And so the TA position is a paid TA position. The other one is a volunteer position. Austin Startup Week is coming up in just a few weeks. It's the week between the 2 weeks of the Austin City Limits Music Festival. It's a week where we celebrate all the things going on in the Austin startup scene all year, but just cram as much of it into 1 week as we can. And so if you want to learn about entrepreneurship and learn what's going on in Austin, you should go to austinstartupweek.com and you can go register there and see all the different events that are happening all over town. A lot of them are, almost all of them are free. And so there's lots of great things to go plug into. That's one great resource that you should all check out. The biggest event or party at Startup Week and also at South by Southwest is the Startup Crawl. The UT students from the Longhorn Startup class always participate in it. It's actually their assignment one night for classes. They have to go to the Startup Crawl. And then when they have their startups, they get to have a booth and present. And here is a quick video on the Startup Crawl. So what's really cool about the Startup Crawl is you get to actually go inside all these different startups that you've heard of and that are all the different startups downtown, and you get to see what it's actually like to be there and meet all the people that work there and a lot of the founders and other things like that, and there's usually a lot of food and swag and other stuff that you can get for free. So it's a lot of fun, and I would really encourage you to check that out as another way to get involved and plug into things. So with that, I'm going to jump into a little bit of my story, which is how to starting a company in college. I give this talk without the in college part, but actually I started my first company in college, and I'm often talking to college students, and so it's easy to twist it in that direction too. But that's what most of the students that I meet, that's what they want to do. Most of them don't actually have a company, but they want to start one. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I started my company in college, and then some tips about what I would do if I were you starting your company now. Is this going to work for me? Oh, maybe. Before I do that, let's get a sense of maybe who's here a little bit. I don't know if there's if Manuel's here, but maybe if there's like another, maybe these are AA batteries. Yeah, you have a swap out. But tell me a little bit about who's here. So what schools are you guys from? Who's a business student? Whoa, most of you, not surprisingly. All right, what about any engineering students here? A bunch of them. See those, Dr. Metcalf? Computer science? That's who pays my salary, thank you. Communications, we got some. Fine arts, we have a fine arts number for our class. Man, it does not like it. Yeah, all right, I'll keep running back. What did I miss? Bio, awesome. Melly would like to meet you. Anyone else? Economics. Cool. All right. Who's here's parent was an entrepreneur? A bunch of you. Who has a startup right now? A bunch of you. Awesome. Great. Who has customers? Keep your hands up. That pay you. Awesome. All right. Who wants to be an entrepreneur? Awesome. Great. You're in the right place. Great. So here is one of the last videos, but a good one, especially for here. So my startup wasn't quite as successful as his was. But obviously, Michael Dell was one of the most successful student startups ever. Started right here at UT Austin, and someone might be in his dorm. And that's part of the story that I think we all want to be part of and want to create. So for me, I started my company when I was in college. Again, it didn't become as big as Michael Dell's, but in some ways, if there was anything it had in common, I think it was probably that when I was starting it, I didn't really know exactly what I was trying to do or what it was going to become, and it kind of got a life of its own. And for me, it was all about email. And email was not something that I was an expert at or knew a lot about or really would have wanted to go do, but it was just it was the thing that ended up being the core of my business. And at the time, this was kind of the mid-90s, which was the beginning of what I would think of as the first dot-com boom, which ended in kind of 1999. And so the commercial internet was really booming, the web was really taking off, and everybody wanted to do something with the web. And if you wanted to run a website back then, you couldn't just go to WordPress.com and like type in your name and create an account. You had to actually have a computer that had a phone line that you couldn't talk on, that was only used to keep the computer connected to the internet all the time. And then that had to be running all the time, and it had to have a program running on it that was a server, that was a web server. And then you could create HTML files and put them on there, and then you had a website. And then you had to make sure that computer never crashed and that phone line never got cut off. And that was running a website. And so as I was going to college in the mid-90s studying computer science, and I wanted to run a website, and the web server that I wanted to get, because open source wasn't nearly as good then as it is today. There was some open source web servers, but the best thing out there was really this commercial one, was this program called WebStar, and it cost about $800 to buy it, to run it on my computer. And so also back then, if you wanted to get software you couldn't afford to buy, you'd try to go get the beta version. And the thing that was a little different then was there was no free betas. Like everything is a free beta now. Like you can go download it and try it before it comes out. Like that was not something that happened. And so if you wanted to be in a beta program, you had to apply and fill out a form and sign an NDA and do all these other things to get into it. And so that's the only way I could figure out how to get free software I could go use. And so I would apply for all the different things I could, just trying to get something that I could play with and learn about. And so I went and I signed up for the web server software, and it asks you all these forms to fill out about what you do and who you are. And I think I answered it pretty honestly and said I was a college kid, and was obviously at that point made it obvious I was never going to be able to afford to buy the thing that they were going to give me. And so I filled out that form. And right next to it, after that program, which was called WebStar, there was another program called ListStar. And I didn't really know what ListStar was, but it asked all the same questions to like fill out the form. So I just like copied and pasted all my answers over, and I applied for the ListStar program too. Now the WebStar program was what everybody wanted to be in, and I was never going to buy the software, so they saw that and they did not let me into the WebStar program. But apparently not that many people really wanted to be in the ListStar program, so because I think they let everybody in because they let me in. So I get an email that I'm accepted into the program, and then a few weeks later a box shows up in the mail, because that's how we would get software delivered, and it had a manual and it had CD-ROMs to go install it, and I take it and I put it on my computer and I set up the server that does this email server that I have nothing to do with the email server. I just now have it running. And then I read the manual because I'm a college kid and I probably have more time than money at the time. And if I go and I read through the manual and I get over how it works, and I go set up some kind of servers and different things that don't really have anything real to do, but I'm just trying to learn about it. And they have a forum, an email forum actually, and as it turns out, that we're almost like being on social media, where people could ask questions about the product, get feedback, just for people on the beta program. And I was on that list, and I would see people start to write in and ask a lot of really obvious, simple questions. And apparently I was the only one that had read the manual. So I would start answering a bunch of these people's questions. I was just sitting there, and hanging out, and I'd see all these emails come in, and I'd start answering people's questions. And so for a while I'm answering people's questions, and then after a while, I get an email and then a call from the CEO of the fairly small company at the time, probably 40 or 50 people, and who noticed what I was doing, looked me up, and was like, hey, you obviously are a college kid, you're already answering all these people's questions. I see you're studying computer science. Like, why don't we hire you as an intern, and we'll pay you to answer all those questions, and you can, write little add-ons for the software and things like that. And I'm like, awesome, because basically this was like the end of my freshman year of school, and so I had spent all the money my parents had given me, and I only was eating spaghetti with salt as my only thing I could afford to buy. So money sounded good. I was like, great, I'm gonna have I'll have this job answering all the questions and working on that. So I start doing all that. And then I start getting more into this email stuff. I join other forums and other group answers, get involved answering other people's questions. There's a community around all this. I start to get involved in it. And then at one point, and then they see that I'm pretty good at talking to people and things like that. And so they invite me to go out to I submit some panels or some speaker suggestions to some conferences, and I get chosen to come speak at some conference. So I'm going out with them to some conference and things like that. And of course, the people that go to conferences are usually the salespeople and the marketing people. That's who actually goes to most of the conferences. So I start getting to know all the salespeople and the marketing people, and then one day, one of the salespeople is trying to close this deal, and the customer they're trying to sell it to wants the software to do something a little bit different than it normally does. And it's something that you could make it go do, but you got to know how to do stuff to go make it do that. And it's not something that it just does out of the box. And they didn't really have any way to go do that. But this salesperson was thinking about it, and he was like, we have this college kid, and if you buy him some pizza, he'll probably do that for you. And so I get this email, and it says this, tells me what they want to go do, and says they'll buy me some pizza, and so I go do it, and they send me some pizza, and then this sales person closes the deal, right? And turns out that that helps. So then he's talking to someone else the next time, and I get another email, this other person wants you to go help with this other thing. Can they pay you to go do this? Would they, make this fix so that he can go close the deal? And then the other salespeople start to hear about that, and they know really now, oh, this is the way we can go help close the deal. So I start getting all these returning these little consulting projects with getting paid on the side to go write these little programs or change the script or do things like that. And then as I'm starting answering all these questions in lots of other places, I add to my email signature. I add my email signature hey, I can ask me about your questions or whatever, and I answer lots of people's questions for free, all the easy ones. And then I wait till then they always, if you do that, they always ask you more questions. And so then they keep asking more and more complicated questions. They wait till they ask me a question that's going to actually take me some time to go figure out or answer or look at some data or do something. And I'm like, hey, I can do that, but you probably should pay me to do that. And I start building up this consulting business of people paying me to come help them with their email stuff. And so then, one day, one of my customers who I'd been helping with the email stuff, as his server would crash, I'd go fix it or something like that, he calls me up. And this was before what now would be commonly known as something everybody would do, which is software as a service, where you go pay a monthly fee to go use something on somebody else's server. Pretty much all then, if you wanted to run something on the internet, you had to run it yourself and pay someone to run it. There weren't services like you could just go pay to do it. And so this is going to sound really obvious, but it was kind of revolutionary at the time. He called me up and he said, hey, every time my server crashes, it's like a big interruption to my business, and it causes lots of problems. But and then I call you and I pay you $50, and you dial in remotely and you fix it, and it's never that hard to fix, and then it's back up. He's like, but Josh, you run a server, and I know that yours crashes too, even like mine does, but you're sitting right next to it all the time, because you're a college kid or whatever it might be at the time. And he's like, and you go fix it right away. And so nobody notices. So instead of me calling you really urgently every time my server breaks and paying you $50 to fix it, how about I just pay you $50 a month and you just run it on your computer and you deal with it? Well, that sounded like a pretty good idea. After all, I didn't buy the computer, it was my parents bought it for me, and I was on the school's internet connection. I wasn't paying for the internet, so I had no costs, and that was $50 a month of free, weekend money. And so that was awesome, and I'm optimistic thinking nothing's going to go wrong, and I'm just going to get free money, right? And of course, some things went wrong every once in a while, but it really wasn't that big of a deal. So then I add to my signature, I can host your email list too. And I start every little bit getting, $50 a month here and $50 a month there, and then $100 a month, and then $400 a month, right? And little by little, I've got this little recurring revenue SaaS business with zero costs except for like hiring my fraternity brothers to do customer service, and this little business growing. And then eventually I move off campus and we get our own internet connection and we start, we're running out of my little house with a bunch of my friends, and it grows into a small business. And by the time I graduated, sorry, one more slide. So I had hair back then. And then it was my starting in our fraternity house, and then moved off this little house off campus, and then and that was the beginning of the company. And then when I graduated, it was doing a couple $100,000 a year in revenue, and I had this great choice of like, do I want to go take a job somewhere, or should I keep working on my company? And it was great to have those options. And so that was really how it got started. And I think there are some key things to take out of that. This is it. 10 years after I started it with about 60 people right before I sold it. This is on the 8th floor of the Omni building downtown. So if any of you have been to Capital Factory, we're on the 16th floor and on the 5th floor. But before we had those floors, I had the 8th floor for my last business. And that's where we ran that, and that's where we started Capital Factory. And that business is still running. It's called Post Up now. And so if you think about what happened in that, I think there were 3 really key things to how I got involved with starting that company. And I think this is what I would take to heart for all of you. And at the one level, at one point they're kind of high level, but at the same time, it's very real, and I think you can internalize it. And this is really what I did, and it's about creating opportunity for yourself. And so one is it's really hard to create a startup, to create a company and do something interesting if you aren't an expert at something. It's really unusual. Like there's a couple flukes, but it's really unusual. Usually the person creating the company knows a really lot about something, about that thing that they're going and creating it about. So you don't have to be old, you can be young, but you got to know a lot about something, and or have some insight. So you got to go learn a lot about something. And I learned a lot about email. I don't know why I learned a lot about email. I didn't even want to learn a lot about email. The whole time I was trying to learn about something else, but email kept pulling me back in. But I learned a lot about email, and that let me go build a business around it. And then meeting a lot of people. So for me, I did that mostly online. And I was doing that through all these forums. But every day I was talking to lots of different people and sharing ideas and bouncing ideas off people and interacting with different people that created opportunities back for me and exposed me to lots of different ideas and gave me different people to go work with. And so talking to lots of different people is really helpful. And then you got to be ready to work really hard. You got to work your ass off. And a lot of people think that sitting around talking about startups is working their ass off, and that's not. Like, you got to go do stuff. And it's way better to go do something than to sit around thinking about what to go do. You're going to learn more about what to do by doing something and deciding that's not the right thing to do than by sitting around thinking about the right thing to go do. But a lot of people spend time just trying to think about the right thing to go do and the perfect thing to go do. And so I think of that as opportunity through activity. So here are my, I'm going to give you, it's like a top 10 list, but like here are some specific suggestions of if I were you, if I were a student starting a company right now, what are some things that I would do? But I have to caveat that. There's some fine print. This is what I would do. This isn't necessarily what you should do, so you have to figure that out. Like, I'm a software guy. I'm a tech guy, and I have certain things I'm interested in and I want to go do, but you have to put that filter on it and figure out for you what's appropriate. But I think it's a lot more helpful to hear really specific advice about one person and apply that than necessarily try to generalize something for everybody. So the first thing is I would pick a problem that I have personally that affects my own life. So like email for me was not one of those to start. But I fell into it, so it didn't fit that criteria. But the whole time I was thinking, I want something else. I want something that was more interesting, that I was more passionate about, that affected me. Because startups are super hard. It takes a lot out of you. It's hard with skills, and it's hard with like emotion and energy. And it's going to be really hard to stick through it and do that if it's not something that you really care about or doesn't affect your own life. And I personally, having done a bunch of different things, feel like it's so much more rewarding to be working on something that I get to use or that affects my family or people I know or my community or something like that. And so, again, there's lots of different things to go do, and we got to solve all these different problems. Doesn't mean those other things are bad. I'm just telling you what I would do. But if I were in the position of I could do anything, which is what most of you are probably in, and you get to sit back and you can cut out whole swaths of things, I would focus on something that I think is going to affect my own life and is going to affect me personally. The next thing is I would find one or more co-founders, other people to work on it with. Not people I would go hire, like people that are my partners, people that are in it with me. And I think that's really, really helpful. I haven't always done that. In my first business, I didn't. I was the sole founder, and it was clearly kind of set up that way. And in hindsight, I still actually had a bunch of co-founders. I just didn't call them that. And it probably would have worked out a lot better if I had. Not that it worked out poorly or anything, but just that would have helped, not hurt. But I would really think about who can you bring in to help you, because again, it's really hard. And it takes all kinds of different things. And there's really just no chance that you got everything you need to be to do everything and to figure everything out. And even if you did, it's just so demanding, it's so hard, and it's such a roller coaster of up and downs that like you want to have somebody else you're going through it with that understands it, and that like when you're feeling bad, they're going to drag you along, and when they're feeling bad, you're going to drag them along. And so you want to have co-founders. And like the best thing in the world is to have a co-founder that is worthy of being an equal partner. Like that's what you want. And you want to go into it thinking like, I want an equal partner. That might not always be the appropriate thing for every situation, but that's the best situation, because if that other person's worth being your equal partner, that means they're bringing a whole ton to the table. And that's the ideal situation I would want to have. And as you think about having a co-founder, the best co-founder is somebody you've known for a really long time, like you've known for like 20 years, and you've worked with a whole bunch, and you work together well, and you have the same values, and it's going to be a good fit. Unfortunately, that's not the situation almost anybody is in. Like most people just can't do that, and so they have to go figure out, okay, I don't have somebody like that. What am I going to go do? You got to go find somebody. And you will never, ever in your life be in a better situation than you are right now to find a co-founder. Like you are completely surrounded by like tens of thousands of unemployed people. And they're all organized and sorted and categorized by what they know and what they're good at. They're scored and ranked. Like, it does not get any better than this. Whatever you need, you know where to go find it. The hallways have signs, like, go find these people over here. So that's as good as it gets. You will be able to do it later, but like it doesn't get any better than this. So you should take advantage of that. You should be thinking like, I'm in a time when I can meet incredible people that can go change the world with me. And this is a great place to go do that. And so I would really take advantage of that. Another thing is the best way, if you don't have somebody you've known for that long, just like with hiring somebody, you want to simulate it. You want to try to experience working with them, not just interview them. And I think one of the best ways to meet co-founders is at hackathons. And in particular, one of the best hackathons happens right here at UT is 3-Day Startup. And at a 3-Day Startup, at a weekend hackathon like that, you get to put yourself into like an artificial time pressure situation where everybody has a goal and is working together and is going to like stay up all night and like work at it really hard, and you get to see how hard people work and what they're like at 2 in the morning and kind of what they're like under pressure. And at the end of that weekend, you know of all the teams who the real strong players are and who you want to work with. And so that's a great way to do it. And kind of like I was saying about being in a good environment, that's full of people that you know want to start companies. I would bootstrap at the beginning. Bootstrapping is more of a way of thinking about things than necessarily like a hard and fast black and white rule. But basically just for most of the people that I meet and for most of the businesses that I've built, I find that actually too much money can kill your company faster than not enough money. And it's really kind of doesn't feel that way usually at the beginning, but it's really true. And when you have too much money, you can do irresponsible things, and you don't have to focus, and you don't have to make hard decisions. And those are the things that help you make the right company. And so the hard thing is having the right amount of money, but that's usually less, not more. And so bootstrapping is really about being very resourceful. It's about trying to see what you can get done without putting a bunch of money on it. And the other thing is, as soon as you take money and you take investment, a clock starts ticking. And you have to pay that money back, and it puts time, and then you increase your expenses, which also creates that clock where now you're going to run out of money at some point. And so you got a timeline you got to do something by. So the longer that you can stay bootstrapping and keep your costs really low and figure out the right thing so that you know you're pointed in the right direction before you smash on the gas, I think that's generally a really good thing. And particularly, it's usually good for first-time entrepreneurs, for people that are just getting started, because it's harder to know when you're pointed in the right direction. One great way to do that is with crowdfunding and crowdsourcing and customer funding. And a Kickstarter is such an incredible thing that wasn't around when I started my company. And I kind of did my own version of it. I had to get my customers to pay a big setup fee to pay me in advance. Because if I brought on a new customer, I couldn't afford to go buy the server and the software. I needed to go service them. So they had to pay me a setup fee, even though a lot of my competitors didn't charge one. But today you can do that with Kickstarter, and you can go get people to buy your product in advance and pay you money in advance, and you can show customer traction and demand and get feedback about what they want and build up a big customer list, and then use that to go raise investment money. Because that's like one of the best proof you could have to go show investors. So that's an awesome way to bootstrap, to make something happen without raising investment dollars. Another thing is I would share my idea with as many people as possible. I would talk to everybody I can. And that's really counterintuitive for a lot of first-time entrepreneurs and a lot of all kinds of entrepreneurs. People feel like when they come up with an idea that the first thing they need to do is not tell anybody. They need to like hide it and keep it to themselves because someone's going to steal it. And it's just not usually like that. First of all, if it's something you came up with in the shower overnight, like it's probably not that. I mean, it's just someone else could do that too. Someone else could have that moment in the shower and come up with it. And those things, you know, like that's not the value. If it's something that a researcher at UT spent $2 million in 5 years, you know, researching and building and patented, and like, okay, that's the kind of thing you want to probably be protective of. But most of the people I meet, that's not what it's about. It's something they thought up in the shower. And for that kind of a thing, in general, the more people you talk to, the better. The more people you talk to, the more feedback you're going to get, and the more you're going to learn about it. And the more people you talk to, the more people they're going to introduce you to that are going to be able to help you with it and that are going to push it forward. And the more people that you talk to, the more that you're going to get critical feedback that's going to help shape it and make it better. And you know, most of what I do is meet entrepreneurs all day long, and I have met thousands of entrepreneurs, and I've been involved in more than 1,000 companies, and I have never. I mean, in 1,000 companies, there's 2 times where there's been an accusation of somebody stealing somebody's idea to go do something like that. Like, could it happen? Yeah. But it really almost never happens. The stars have to align so perfectly for someone else to be the right person to be better at competing with you and want to like your idea so much that they want to quit whatever they are doing to go do your thing, and like all these other things happen. It just doesn't usually happen that way. And so I would talk to as many people as I can if I were you. I would focus on mobile first. So I would think about whatever I'm doing, and I would think, what is the mobile version of it? How will this happen on mobile? How will people use it on mobile? Because mobile is where most of the growth is and where more things are happening. So again, this doesn't apply to everybody. There's lots of problems to solve that aren't on mobile that are valuable. But if I were going to go start something, I would do it on mobile because I think it'd be easier to recruit people to work on it with me. And it'd be easier to get investors excited about it. And it'll be easier to get press about it. And it'll be easier to do all kinds of things because there's a lot of excitement and growth in mobile. So I would focus on mobile first. What's the mobile version of whatever I'm going to go do, and how does that happen in mobile? And in a similar way, I think a lot about artificial intelligence. I think how is artificial intelligence going to change this industry or this business that I'm in? There's a certain part that's similar to what I was saying about mobile, which is there's a lot of excitement and energy around artificial intelligence right now. And so just having a .ai domain name just makes you cooler and more exciting. But that's not the reason to do it. The reason to do it is because this is a major horizontal trend that's going to affect lots of industries over the next 10 to 20 years. And you want to be thinking about how does this affect me, and is it going to affect my industry? And if so, I would want to be one of the ones leading the way with that and integrating that into what I'm doing. I'd build an MVP, a minimum viable product, without any code. So I would do my best to deliver the service, to learn about it, to sign up customers by building as little as possible. And ideally manually doing as much as I can, because from manually doing it, you can change it every time. You can do it once, learn, change it, do it the next time, learn, do it different the next time, learn, do it different the next time. And so your iteration cycle is really, really fast. And coding stuff, your iteration cycle is a lot slower. It's weeks at least. It's like 1 week, the next week, the next week, as opposed to every 5 minutes. And so you're going to learn a really lot doing it that way. And then once you understand how to do it, then you start coding it. And that's a great way to test things out and to build customer references and customer feedback. I'd outsource to people and APIs. So I'd take everything that's not critical about my business, that is not my competitive advantage, and I would try to offload it if I can. Sometimes that's a little more expensive in the short term. Sometimes you have to wait till you're funded to do that. That doesn't always go with bootstrapping. But when you think about what you decide to do versus what you outsource, you want to think about, there are things about your business that are your competitive advantage. They're the things that really make you stand out and make you different from other companies. Those are probably not the things you want to outsource. Those are probably things you want to hold close to your chest and be your secret sauce and own that talent. And then there are things about your business that are probably the same as every other business like yours. And they happen to be something about it and you want to be good, but it's not actually your expertise. And someone that really knows a lot about that might know the best practices and know how to do that better. So if you are building a website that sells a physical product that you make, and what's really unique is the product, not the way that you're selling it, then your website might be able to be like anybody else's website. You could outsource that to Shopify or to BigCommerce or to Volusion, and you could have a web store, and you don't have to build your own web store. And you can even hire a consultant to go design it and build it for you. And the graphic design is not the thing that necessarily is going to make you different from everyone else. So you can hire a designer to go work on that. And your accounting is probably not the thing that's going to set you apart. But the product design, maybe that part you really want to own, or the product marketing of the physical product. And the flip side of that, maybe what you're building is a social network. And it's all about the interaction on the web and maybe mobile or other places that you use it. And in that case, you probably don't want to outsource the building of that and have to go through somebody else every time you want to make a change and be dependent on somebody else to do that and be dependent on spending money incrementally to make changes. You probably want to own that and have it in-house. But I'd think about what are the things that I need to own and what should I outsource. And one of the last things is I would just surround myself with as many other entrepreneurs as I can. And obviously the Kelleher Center and what you're doing here today is a great way to go do that. Going and taking entrepreneurial classes like Longhorn Startup or Texas Venture Labs or lots of the other resources here on campus are a great way to go do that. Going to a co-working space like Capital Factory or the many other co-working spaces. There's now co-working spaces on campus. Going to the Blackstone Center. Those are all different ways to surround yourself with other entrepreneurs so that you're going to learn from them and bounce off them, and they're going to push you forward and you're going to help them, and all those great things will happen. So I would really surround myself with other entrepreneurs and not just hole myself up somewhere. Once you know what you're doing, once you're totally dialed in, then you go hole yourself up somewhere. You're like, leave me alone. I got work to do. But usually at the beginning, you want to be surrounded by as many people as you can that are also motivated and working on different things. So last thing to leave you with is as you think about your startup, there's this Chinese proverb. It says the best day to plant a tree was 20 years ago. And the second best day is today. And I think that's how a lot of people should think about startups. So if you really know you want to do a startup, you can wait and try to get more ready or try to do other things, but not much actually gets you ready for doing a startup besides doing a startup. Maybe you go be part of another startup. That's a good way to learn about that kind of stuff. But if you want to do it, I would really try to start doing it. So hopefully that helps. And I think we're on a pretty tight schedule, so I don't think we have time for Q&A or anything, so I'm going to hand it off to the next one. So thanks.
All right, this is working great. Thanks a lot, Josh. I really appreciate that story. It's very inspirational. A lot of us are here trying to be inspired, trying to do the same things that you've done. And so it's great to learn from your experience. And you talked a lot about finding resources and getting started while we're here on campus. And that's kind of my job here, is to try to explain in the short amount of time we have left some of the resources available to us as we are looking to start companies, to get inspired, to get feedback, to find mentors, to find other entrepreneurs in our space who can help us to make our dreams a reality. My name is Scott Livengood. I'm the Assistant Director of the Kelleher Center for Entrepreneurship, Growth, and Renewal. I'm relatively new to Austin and to UT. I've only been here a few months, but I've been really excited to see the excitement of entrepreneurship and the things that are happening here, the resources that are available, and the people like you who help drive this forward. And so it's my job here to, again, explain a little bit about what resources are available. And if this were a drinking game, I think collaboration would probably be the word of the day. So every time I say that, just smile or something, and we'll keep it civil that way. Let's see if this is, it kind of worked a little bit. So if we think about the ecosystem, we have lots of different sources of information and of resources. All right, we have various college programs, we've got student organizations, we've got event series. The center is very focused on promoting entrepreneurship across campus and in many different ways, shapes, and forms. We've got courses that are offered in lots of different departments and lots of different colleges. And then we try to then connect with the Austin startup scene with people like Josh and Cap Factory and those who are engaged all around us to help us do what we're doing. And as you see here, the idea of entrepreneurship is not solely a business idea. It's not housed only in McCombs. Obviously, we have a lot to do with entrepreneurship. We have a lot to say and teach about entrepreneurship. But I would say if you're looking for a place to start at your school, start in your college, start in your department. And I would almost bet that you could find some kind of resource, some kind of program, some kind of course, some kind of instructor or group that is focused on entrepreneurship across campus. No matter what kind of area you're in, no matter what background you're coming from, there's something around the corner that can help you be entrepreneurial. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on each. I've got slides for each one of these, but I'll just maybe highlight one program from each for something that might kind of stimulate some excitement, maybe some interest, and we'll try to go from there. Starting with the School of Engineering. So one of the cool things I think they have here is this Maker Studio. So if you have some kind of engineering focus, if you electrical, mechanical engineering, want to make something, a product, the resources are there for you to do 3D printing, cutting, wood shop, plasma torch, all those kinds of things are there for you to play with, to make a product, or if maybe we'll keep you away from the torch, have somebody who has some experience and expertise in that particular area help you make an actual physical product and put that together. Similarly, if we go to the College of Fine Arts, they also have a foundry, which is a maker space. But they do it a little bit differently. We're really kind of focused on this design thinking. So before we make our product, we really want to design something that is going to solve a real problem and do it in the most efficient and effective manner. And so combining that design thinking with actually foundry to make this stuff is certainly another resource that we have here on campus. For the College of Natural Sciences, this one thing I want to highlight that I have special knowledge and interest in is this intensive called Startup Science. And basically what it is, it's a collaboration between the College of Natural Resources and McCombs, taught by a new member of the faculty here at UT, who is Professor Livengood, that's me. And basically we have a series of courses set up. First course that we're doing this fall is an introduction to innovation and entrepreneurship. Very principle-based, very theory-based, a little bit of practicality, but really that extends into the second semester where the students build upon the idea they came up in the first semester and actually do it. Write a plan, come up with a business model canvas, something that they can actually take to market. It's a two-course sequence that really introduces, again, the students from the College of Natural Sciences and helps bring them along with Macomb students to really get their hands wet and try to figure out a little bit more about what they're doing in the entrepreneurial space. This is also kind of a precursor to the minor, an entrepreneurship minor, that Macombs is launching next fall, which will have a very similar sequence. Another area here, if we're looking for kind of pharmaceuticals, if you're in the College of Pharmacy, there's opportunities for you in that particular space with biomedical, pharmaceutical, and public health issues, ways to develop those kinds of ideas in those life sciences there. Similarly, with the medical school, I like this Texas Health Catalyst. Basically, the premise here is they go and they look at UT, and they say, you know, we have a lot of researchers, we have a lot of people with great ideas already existing. And this technology is there just waiting for somebody to grab it and take it to market. And that's the idea with this catalyst, is trying to, again, collaborate with lots of different people with existing technology and actually taking that through to make a product and actually send it out there in the market. We have various other things that are not just simply focused on the profit motive. So we're looking at the division of diversity, energy, if we want to do something in that space, or in the area of public affairs as well. There's lots of opportunities for that when we're talking about maybe multi-purpose businesses that have not just profitability as a focus, but also looking to solve other problems as well. Here in the Macomb School, again with the Kelleher Center for Entrepreneurship, we do a lot of things to try to stimulate and to try to bridge the gap that occurs across campus to really get people excited about the events and activities that are happening. One thing we have especially if we're looking for mentors is our Entrepreneur in Residence program, where we have people from the community who give of their time to have office hours to direct anybody, students, faculty members, group members who want to get some advice from someone who's actually been out there and done it. So we have free office hours that people can just come in, pitch their ideas, get ideas for funding, get ideas for collaboration, whatever it is that they want. We have that kind of mentoring available. Another, I think, interesting program, very similar to the Texas Health Catalyst, is our MSTC program, so the Masters of Science and Technology Commercialization, where the students form groups and they go find existing technology, again, that's just sitting there waiting for somebody to commercialize. And it's a year-long program, very intensive, opportunities to learn the various aspects of business over that year program, which then will launch at the end of it will culminate in the launch of a business to further that technology out in space. The Texas Venture Labs is a very active group on campus, doing a lot of wonderful things, kind of from beginning to end. So if you need some mentorship, if you need accelerator programs, incubator programs, competitions, pitch opportunities, venture partner programs, those kinds of things, that the Texas Venture Labs is very dedicated to making sure the students have everything that they need to succeed. Now, the one caveat, this is for graduate students. So if you're a graduate student specifically looking for some guidance, for some help along the entrepreneurial process, then the TVL is certainly a place for you to start. We have from the top down, Office of the President and Executive Vice President and Provost. Lots of activities, some focused on sports. One I think that's especially interesting is this Mandela Washington Fellowship for Young African American Leaders initiative. Is basically what they do is on an annual basis they bring 25 aspiring entrepreneurs from sub-Saharan Africa. And there's I believe it's about a 3-week intensive program to give them exposure to the wonderful resources we have here at UT. And so we're really trying to, again, try to affect the world, change the world one person at a time. And so not just simply the resources available for us, but reaching across continents and across the world as well. IC Squared is also an important aspect here, where there's various incubating opportunities, accelerator programs, global commercialization, so again, with kind of an international focus, and doing lots of things to help students start and run their own businesses. One, again, important part here that we think about is the Office of Technology Commercialization. So if you're involved in a research lab, a research opportunity, if you know a professor who has invented something, or if you're working on something, then this office has really helped you to work through the IP protection, patenting, marketing, taking it out to market. That's kind of the gateway between the school and the community at large. If we need legal help, we've got our friends over at the School of Law to give free advice for formation, non-disclosure agreements, those kinds of things. Any kind of legal questions we have, we've got that covered here as well. And now the Blackstone Launchpad, I could spend a long time talking about all the things they do. One I think especially interesting resource that they're providing is this Women's Entrepreneurship Incubator. Really trying to reach out to especially aspiring women entrepreneurs who might not, because of the culture, because of stigma, because of just how things have been in the past, not had the opportunities or the resources available to them to get that kind of one-on-one mentorship as being a woman in this space. And so they're really trying to focus on helping particular people in those circumstances. So we also have a lot of student groups that are, again, focused on various different aspects of the entrepreneurial process, but again, hopefully are tailored and custom to the interests that you have as students. So we have some that are focused more on graduate students, some that focus on Maker Studio with our MBA students. We even have a Texas Israeli Startup Association. I recently had an opportunity to go to Israel to look at the wonderful entrepreneurial activity that's going on there, and it really is groundbreaking, the kind of stuff they can do. And so this is a great way to find those mentors, find those resources, find those co-founders that are existing all around you that are focused on something similar to you and can help throughout that entrepreneurship process. I put this up here not to talk about each one of these, but again, this underscores my idea that if you're looking for a course, if you're looking for a class, if you're looking for a professor who can help you, chances are it exists in your college, in your department, in your school. And so start there and look for opportunities to do that. One thing as a professor, I love to be able to teach students in a very safe environment, opportunities for them to learn and to grow and to network with other like-minded students as they develop their ideas. And these classes are one step in that direction. If you're a graduate student, similarly, there's lots of departments across campus who are right next to you, right where you currently exist, offering courses and mentoring and resources for you to continue to develop your particular ideas. Josh kind of mentioned a couple cool ideas that a couple cool programs that we have on campus, like the 3-day startup. One that I want to specifically plug is the Texas Business Planning Competition. The idea for this is to go statewide. So this is put on by the center, the Herb Kelleher Center. It's an idea for undergraduates across the state of Texas to enter into this business planning competition. And the idea is we have up to $22,000 in prizes, $10,000 for the top prize. The application for this is Friday, so if you have an idea that you've already been working on, follow the link and there's an opportunity for you to submit. If you're just thinking of an idea, this might not be the best part, but if you really want to work hard in the next 2 days, we certainly are welcome to have any and all types of businesses for this particular competition. The actual competition itself isn't until the end of October, but we're going through that vetting process to do that now. So keep that in mind. If you really want a fire lit, or if you want a specific goal, then Friday is a good thing to look for that. So what's next? Right, so what we've done here today is we tried to collaborate. We tried to bring people together. Our next stop here after I'm done, I know I'm kind of in the way of the fun part of the trade show. We have a lot of different groups. We have a lot of different organizations. We have a lot of different resources represented here for you to take that next step. And it really is up to you. If entrepreneurship is about anything, there's a lot of self-starting. There's a lot of determination. There's a lot of perseverance. There's a lot of initiative that's important. And so go. Talk to people like Josh said. Talk to people about your ideas. Talk to people here today next to you. What are you interested in? Why are you interested? How can we work together to accomplish what it is that we want to? Again, starting, we've got a competition coming up. We've got courses. We've got a lot of student groups. Talk to your mentor. Find a mentor. Talk to a professor. Come talk to us at the center and get on your way to do that. So again, the idea is we've got a very extensive program. A set of programs, series of programs all across campus to help get you started and help keep you motivated and to provide the resources to keep you on your way to follow that entrepreneurial dream. UT is very central to what's going on, especially in this Austin startup ecosystem. If you've not yet picked it up, this brochure basically lists a lot of the resources I've already discussed today, and there's websites, there's contact information, there's phone numbers. This could be your starting point of guide to find a resource for which you're looking in order to kind of get and continue on that path. And again, come use us as much as possible. Go to our website, look as a starting point to see the events, the speaker series, the competitions, the things that are happening across campus. We're here to help you to fulfill those dreams and to make your dreams a reality. And keep in mind here that what starts up here changes the world. All right, so without further ado, these are a list of our partners here that are here for a trade show. And so we're just now a few minutes over, but they should be available for you. And we're here again all night to answer any questions that you might have. And so without further ado, go forth and change the world. Thank you very much.